Fluent Reader is a modern-looking and an easy-to-install desktop application RSS reader. I've done some videos before about self-hosted, open-source, web-based RSS readers, but for many, having to install those on a server and configure it and access it, via a browser is a little bit more difficult. So I thought I'll cover Fluent Reader today because it's much easier. It's really just installing it as a desktop or mobile app, adding your RSS feeds, and sort of off you go. It is cross-platform, so it will run on Windows, Linux, macOS, and there are also mobile apps for iOS and Android. And it has some great features which I really just want to highlight. But before I get to that, let's just first talk about why RSS. Because I know that many are not familiar with it, and without understanding it, may not understand the benefits and the use of using something like a RSS reader. So I'm not going to define the whole of RSS, but essentially it's just feeds that are available from numerous different websites and blogs that allow you to read those articles on your desktop without going to the website. So for me, really, firstly, the most important thing that I get out of it is focus. I get to read what I want to read without the clutter, the pop-up adverts, redirects, distractions, and so on and so forth. So it really just is the pure article that you've got to read. The second thing for me really is the amount of time that it saves. If I have to think, I'm probably reading daily about maybe 30, 40, 50 different websites, and on each I've got about, say, maybe 10 or 20 articles that I'm interested in. All of that comes to me in grouped or categorized feeds, and I've just got to click to read them all in one place. So it saves me an incredible amount of time. I mean, having to go visit each and every individual website would take me way longer, and of course along with all the distractions along the way. So for me, it's a major time saver. The other thing is quality versus bias. So you choosing really what sites or what content you want to read or sources. So if you're going to pick things like BBC News and IOL and News 24 and Tech Central and whatever these other various sites you're interested in, it could be anything. Look, it doesn't have to be news. Remember, it can be knitting, it could be gardening, it could be any different types of sites. The point is you're choosing high quality sites that are of value to you, versus, say, on something like Facebook or even Mastodon or any other social media site. It's full of other information, and a lot of them have got also algorithms that are pushing things into your news feed or taking away from what's in your news feed. So, like I said, if you've defined, say, 10 websites that you're going to follow RSS feeds on, that is what you're getting. You'll get it as soon as something is published. It's not going to be hidden from you, and so on. So, that is what I'm saying. Really, it is a quality issue as well. And then lastly, also privacy and safety. So you aren't actually physically going to those websites and browsing up and down them, clicking on them and spending time on each article. You're doing it all out on your desktop. So you're removed from the actual website. You are being isolated, in other words, from it. So those websites are not picking up personal information from you. They're not collecting or looking at your behavior and tracking that. And then also things like cross-site scripting, which is a type of security vulnerability in web applications, that they allow an attacker to inject malicious code into your web page. That sort of thing is also blocked because you're working in an isolated context within your RSS reader. So for that perspective, it's also a lot safer to use. And I think it'll become clearer as I show you sort of, what it actually looks like. With that said, let's go and have a look and see what it actually looks like. This is the default view that I've got for Fluent Reader that I'm using, and you'll see it is a sort of a Electron app on Linux. Generally speaking, you've got a lot of these are subscriptions. These are the different sites that I'm subscribed to. The numbers you're seeing here are the unread articles for each website. So under my subscriptions, I've got things like categories. You can see some of them here. You can group these and you can name these categories anything you want to really, and group your sites wherever you want to. So like under faves, I've got 227 unread articles there. And I have got Lifehacker, which has got 68 unread. I've got the official Google blog 7, and I've got the XDA developers feed that I'm following there. And then under like general technology, I've got a whole bunch more sites. These are the sites that I do really every day. And if you've opened up a category, you can click on whichever your first source is. So in this case, it's Lifehacker. And here are your articles now that are unread. Depending on what extensions you've got active, I think this is an extension I've got. It gives you an estimated read time. But I prefer this particular view. This is called the magazine view. It's got an image which, just helps you give an essence of what it's about with a bold title and then a short excerpt of text that I can just see what it's about. So generally, I'll go down in this view and then see what's of sort of interest here that I maybe want to read. And before I move on, let me just show you the other views as well. That is the magazine view as I set up there. There is a card view, which is this view. It's just that, I don't want to sort of move over, each one, although it's quite a nice way to do it. You get a little bit more of the excerpt. It's a sort of maybe a quicker view. You've also got a list view, which is this sort of view, and it's going to show you the article like that. But you see there's no excerpt, so that to me is a bit of a slower way to do it. I've showed the magazine, and then there's also a compact view, which gives you sort of everything there on a line. Some people prefer to scan just down this way without seeing the images. So, that is another alternative. But let's just go back to the magazine view. And of course, the other one that I did show earlier on, I think is it the list view. That is the sort of the more traditional view often that many will be used to, where you'll sort of click down there. So if I go down here and there's something that I'm sort of interested in reading, then I'm going to click on it, and what it opens up here, you'll see, is a sort of a reader view. You're not seeing adverts, you're not seeing any clutter, you're not seeing anything else, and it's extracted basically the text of the article for you from the site. You can mark it as unread again if you wanted to. You could star it. You could load the full content. That would have been that's what you would probably have seen in the RSS feed without Fluent Reader, or some of these what they call full text RSS readers, but I default to it on so that I can see the full text. I don't have to go to the website. If I wanted to, I could click over here and actually load the actual website, and of course it will come up with its pop-ups and various other things as well. And you've got a couple of other options here to open it externally in your browser. You can copy a link to this article and share it. You could hide it, change the font size, and reading direction. And I think that's a link, that's a QR link if I remember correctly. And I could show you some other, under RSS feeds, if you go to this one. Okay, this is now not showing the full text, I think, of the article. So in that case, you may have to open it. But Fluent Reader does a pretty good job of recovering it. I mean, it was one click, and you can see there I am, I can read the article fairly quickly as well. This does allow me, as I said, to go through literally 200-300 articles a day quickly. But, like I said, I will first read through and see what I actually am interested in reading further. I don't open and close every single article that I read. I really just do sort of go down them like this and see what's of interest. It's pretty quick and responsive. And essentially, when you start up Fluent Reader, it's going to draw on your various RSS feeds that you've entered and pull those articles in. It'll be updating during the day. So you can open it once or twice a day, or you can leave it open in the background. And you can even set notifications, if you want to. And of course, the other thing is you want to keep track also of what you've finished reading. So, when you finished reading, you can mark things as read. And we can just go over here and have a look. If you right-click on whatever the source is there that you've been reading, you can then just click there on Mark All as Read, and you'll see that it instantly will have cleared those articles, and it moves by default to the next unread source. Again, you can just right-click and mark it as read, and you'll see it's already jumped to the next one. And essentially that's what you're going to do. You're going to go through all your articles, go down them. When you've opened or closed a couple and you've finished with that particular one, you'll click there again, mark as read, and sort of move on to your other articles until basically you've got no unread articles left here. And obviously when it goes and retrieves new feeds, it's going to fill those feeds again, on the hour or every 2 hours or whatever you set it for, to display the fresh articles. I think let's just do a search. I can go up to search. I am selected on all articles at the moment. Click search, and we could go say audio, and there out of the 999 unread articles at the moment, there's one on audio. Technology, or mentioning technology, and you'll see it also highlights, there in the results where it's found it as well. Yeah, there's green as well. So it's also a way of just searching through quickly and seeing, what there is. But I think let's go through some of its options, and then it'll become a bit clearer also what it actually does. So the first thing you've got here is sources. This is, in other words, your source of where is your RSS feed, what are you following? And you'll see an example of a couple here. So I already showed you Lifehacker and a couple of others. The other nice thing, of course, is some of these are also sites that maybe publish once a month. Maybe it's periodic. Just every now and again they publish an update or an announcement. So the nice thing is you won't miss it. If something gets published in only 2 months' time, it'll come up in your RSS feed. So if you go down, you'll see here, these are the RSS, the URLs that they're talking about over there if you want to add one. And I'll show just now when we're finished with Fluent Reader where you'd find them on websites. But in essence, you would paste your RSS feed, the URL, in here and just say add. And these are examples of some that I've already got added. If I double click on register, you can just see there, you can change the name if you want to. You can say there how often it should feed, maybe just once a day, fetch it, or whatever the case is. Do you want full text, the RSS text, or do you want to load the full content from the source? Do you want to load web page by default, or do you want to open it externally? Those are some of the options. The other thing you see over here, OPML, essentially most RSS or nearly all RSS readers will allow you to export your collection of RSS feeds, export it as an OPML file, and you can also import them. So it's very easy to migrate from one reader to another. You can take existing reader you've maybe got, even export the OPML, or your friends could share one with you, and all you've got to do is import it into your reader and you've got all your feeds ready to go. The groups or the categories, this is where you would create new groups. And we can see there under faves, you can change the name if you want to. And this is the ones that I've already got under here. But you can drag and drop them to change them if you need to. So the groups, use them. They're actually a nice way of just categorizing by group or interest, to keep them separate and not just have one long list. Rules are quite interesting. You can apply a rule to any posts that are coming in on any particular one of your sources. So you could say where the title matches a particular expression, or there's content that matches. So maybe you want to filter everything out that says Bitcoin, for example, or delete them, or whatever the case is. So whatever matches that expression, you can then say, mark it as read or mark it as unread. You can star the article. You can hide the article. So if you wanted to hide anything mentioning Bitcoin, you'd type in their title or content, Bitcoin, and you could select the action like hide it. And if it's something very important you want to keep an eye on, you can maybe star it, and you could say notify if it's fetched in the background. So rules can be quite useful. And then the services are interesting. This syncs across devices with RSS services. So why I self-host my own RSS reader service is because I can read it from any browser, whether my mobile phone or my desktop computer browser. I can read some articles and I can move to the mobile device. I can come back to later, back to the desktop. And I like being able to move around and have a seamless service. Now, although this is a desktop client, it does not mean that it's sitting in isolation only and it's completely separate. You've got a couple of different services here that you can opt to make use of to sync your posts that are received as well as that you've read already and you've hidden. So obviously, if you've installed Fluent Reader as well on your Android phone, say, or your iPhone, and you've got it running on your desktop, you could sync then that progress across any of these services. So if you look at, for example, things like the Fever API, that's an API that's used to sync services such as Tiny RSS Reader, the TTRSS, that's a self-hosted RSS service, Fresh RSS, which is the one that I'm self-hosting. So I could actually use this to sync straight to my Fresh RSS service I'm running, or things like Mini Flux and certain others. Then there's also Google Reader API. Now, Google Reader, although there used to be a Google Reader, the API is still in use as a standard by certain readers such as Reader, the Old Reader, and a couple of others as well. So that can sometimes be used. And these ones like Feedbin and InnoReader are actual services on the internet, which you can also link to and use them as a sort of a sync. You don't have to go and visit the site itself. You can download it to your desktop. And the other one that is quite interesting is also Nextcloud. So Nextcloud is a self-hosted kitchen sink. It sort of does everything. It's your Dropbox replacement, Google Files replacement. You can edit documents. You can do all sorts of things with it. Calendaring, contacts, everything. But amongst other things, it's also got a news API. So if you hosted that as an optional plugin on your own Nextcloud service, you could also use that to sync between your RSS reader devices. So yeah, so you've got quite a couple of options there to look at, and there's also a click to learn more. Obviously, the language you can choose of the interface for Fluent Reader. You can choose light and dark mode as well. You can say a default, how often should it go and fetch new articles from each of those services. You can also say which search engine you want to have as a default. You've got some auto cleanup articles. I think mine was supposed to be set for 7 days ago. Oh, sorry, this is actually, it's not an auto cleanup. Basically, you select there to clean and you say delete, and it will clean everything that's older than 7 days. There's a cache you can clear as well, and you can also just backup its settings to an external file and restore it if you want to. So that is pretty well much really Fluent Reader. We can just have a look maybe quickly at its website as well. Let me just close that. So this is Fluent Reader's website. I've already talked about its sort of modern design. You can organize with the categories. You can read fluently. As I said, you've got a clean reading view without the clutter. You've got searching. It's privacy first. I've covered most of that already. There's its dark reader look. And that's sort of it. So the last thing I just really want to talk about is, so where do you find these RSS feeds then? Interesting enough, most sites have actually got them. This is a South African news site. There is actually an extension, and I'll put the links below the video, for Firefox and for Chromium-based browsers, that you can just right-click on the extension, and it will tell you if there's any hidden RSS feeds on a website. So that is quite often what I use. But generally, if you go to the bottom of the page or the top of the page, you'll find something like this down here. If you have a look there at that symbol, that's the RSS symbol. So typically, if you click on that, you're going to find either it's just a link and you can right click on it and copy that URL, or it'll take you even to a page like this. And this is quite nice. So IOL, what they've gone and done is they've already sorted their feeds into different categories. So you can follow just say crime if you want to from IOL, or just general news, or business reports, or sport. And that's basically the articles that you're going to get. So if you wanted to make use of that, you're going to right click on this and you will just say there, copy link. If you want to see what one of these looks like, I can just right click on one of these and say open that link, the RSS link, in a new tab. And yes, it is a lot of gibberish, but this is all well-defined fields for formatting, for headings and content and photo and all that sort of thing. But if it says there RSS something, that generally means that that is an RSS feed that you're looking at. And if you went back and right-clicked and just said copy link, you'd go back to Fluent Reader, paste that in, and that will be your feed live, ready to go, and you can use it. And then just to sort of also show it's not just news sites. It really is not just about news sites. If you look at something like Mastodon Social Network, for example, even with them, by default, there's an RSS feed for every Mastodon profile. So they're using the example here. If you take this link as the link for the profile, you'll see if you just append to it .rss on the end, and you would copy that link and paste it into your RSS feeder, you won't even have to visit the social network. You could follow that person's posts from inside Fluent Reader and never miss anything that they've posted. So you can even use it for replacing of things like social networks. The other thing is every single WordPress site by default does have a RSS feed as well for all the posts or the post updates that they issue, often for pages as well, in fact. Even if they don't know about it or they haven't advertised the RSS. So often what you can do is go to a WordPress site and just take the actual domain name of the site. In fact, we could actually have a look at mine. You'll see if we go up here and you type /feed at the top over there, you just type in the /feed on the end. It should actually bring up, oh, okay, it has shown there that it's an RSS feed, and it really wants to know, do you want to save it? But the point I'm trying to show is that there is actually an RSS feed there. And I think sometimes if that doesn't work, you can also use RSS, but it might be feed. So yes, it is that as well, probably. So you can try that with various websites as well, because it'll basically mean as well, you're never going to miss any of that person's posts, and you don't have to go and visit their page all the time. I think on my site, I do list some of my RSS feeds as well with the links, and they are also categorized. Some of them are just technology, some are open source, some are green technology, and then all my posts. So it's also a way of just categorizing and sorting, your RSS feeds to give people variety and choice, because why follow everything if a person's got a category already set up? So yeah, like I said, RSS feeds can certainly help you focus better. They can save you a lot of time. They can give you higher quality content without all the bias of social media and so on, and can also ensure better privacy and safety instead of just browsing to all sorts of sites all over the place. So, it might be worth spending a little bit of time setting up some RSS feeds and using something like Fluent Reader. There's also numerous other RSS readers, of course, for Android and iOS. I just chose Fluent Reader because of its sort of more modern look and feel. And for me, what's very important is getting the full text of the articles. I don't want to have just excerpts the whole time and then have to go and visit the websites to go read the rest of it. So it's partly also why Fluent Reader was my choice for my desktop reader. Like I said, that's something maybe you just want to look out for as well if you're looking at a reader. Otherwise, they're going to drag you back to the websites all the time to go and get the other half of the article. So yeah, I hope you found that's of some interest, and I hope something like this could actually save you a lot of time and give you better quality reading and news and information that you're finding across the internet. But otherwise, yes, thanks for listening anyway, and I will have the links below the video as well for everything that I've spoken about and referenced. And yes, you must stay safe out there, and I'll see you in my next video.